Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. This is M, CEO of the Soul Focus Group, super coach of One Soul Circle, and I'm so super excited about the opportunity to speak with you. I know I always say that. I always say I'm super excited. It's like something that's on a loop in my mind whenever I start recording these videos. Truth is, I'm feeling good and just working to get more in touch with uh, my words and what I want to share with you. Because I tend to do these videos pretty much organically. Means that I try not to premeditate what I'm going to talk to you about. And I know it's different for a lot of the leaders and speakers you see out there presenting different messages to you. I have a different philosophy about that. Um, there are lots of things that I teach and work with people on a regular basis in my coaching practice. And at the Soul Focus Group, we do a lot of intentional work. But when I get on these videos, I feel a need to be more free, to allow for the spirit, my spirit, your spirit, the spirit in the world, to sort of communicate through me what feels right to talk about. And I'm thinking about a conversation that I had on 2 days ago for our regularly scheduled Strength for the Struggle sessions that we do. Strength for the Struggle, something that me and Dr. Harvey Nichols came together and created as a safe place, a haven, so to speak, safe haven for people who do DEIB work, racial equity work, um, you know, working to undo different forms and systems of oppression. A place where we can come together and people could be seen by those who are doing the work like yourself. And we share with each other, strengthen each other, acknowledge each other's contributions in the world. Because it's so important because, people like ourselves who do this kind of work tend to give a whole lot, tend to keep giving until you burn out or till you have nothing left to give because you've been giving to everyone and not putting yourself in the position to receive. And day before yesterday, we had a wonderful conversation. And the conversation went something sort of like this. I asked a question to one of the participants who is a lawyer, litigation lawyer, focusing on civil rights and et cetera, et cetera. And she was sharing the struggles and things that she goes through as an attorney. And of course, what we do is we listen to each other first before we comment or give feedback. So we listened very intently to her. And I had a couple of questions that came up in my spirit to ask. And I was not really asking it just to her, but to everyone on the call, everyone on the Zoom. And I pose you the same question to you as you look at this video, as you're listening to my sound of my voice. The subject matter was, first of all, let me put the broader context, the frame around it first. We were talking about the fear that people have of listening to another person's perspective, especially when you're doing this work, when you're doing this anti work or this, racial equity work. We tend to struggle with being open to other people's perspectives that does not align with our own. So anyone's perspective that does not align with ours, we really struggle with listening to them. Not just listening to it. I'm not talking about listening to find something wrong with it or listening to for your turn to talk. I'm talking about literally listening to other people's perspective. So I asked the question that says, what is the likelihood that if I'm not willing to listen to your perspective, that you're going to be willing to listen to mine. Think about that for a minute. If we're not willing to listen to other people's perspective in a very respectful way, in a way that really has capacity or room to receive what they see as what they see, how is it that do we automatically respect or expect, excuse me, other people to therefore listen to our perspective with a certain degree of respect that we didn't give to them by not listening to their perspective? Think about that for a minute, because we've been operating like that for a while. So we delved into some of the things that make us so defensive to other people's perspective. And what we came to the conclusion is that in our world, we have a tendency to want everybody outside to change while we remain the same. So we want other people to change while we remain the same. And the way we get other people to change is we want other people to move and react to our perspective as if it's law. We want them to react to it. We want them to change and to make adjustments to it while we remain unchanged. So we got to this point in the conversation where it was really getting juicy. And the juicy part was the idea of considering, let's say, someone that we've been trying to change for a while. We've been really preaching to them, sharing stuff with them, and doing the thing that we do as facilitators of different processes of what they call woke or wake, consciousness, human consciousness. Put it that way. So you've been working on somebody, and they finally come to you and they say, "You know what? You're right. You are so right. I have been going about this thing totally wrong. I see what you've been saying to me all these years, and I really want to make a change. I want to make a change in my life." Now, let's suppose that person is someone who you consider to be a racist. That's an example. You consider them to be a racist. And they said, "Yes, I see that I have been a racist and I really want to transform my life." What effect will that have on you? What demand, I would say, a natural demand, would their changing, their making the change have on you? And everybody went around the room and a few people said a few things, but the person who was the center of the conversation said that it would cause me to open up. I think I would begin to start experiencing some form of healing, some form of restoration as a result of them, coming to that conclusion. I said, "Wow, that's amazing that you would open up, feel vulnerable, and feel some healing taking place inside yourself." So then I asked the question. I said, "So let me ask you this question. Would you say you being your vulnerable self, you being open and healing, is that closer to who you are? Or is it the person who has guards up, being defensive, angry? Is that closer to who you are?" And of course, there was a silent pause in the room because everybody was really thinking about what in what state are we closest to our original self? Are we closest to our original self when we are vulnerable, meaning open to life, meaning being honest and sincere with others, meaning being open to listen to others? Are we closer to ourselves then? Are we closer to ourselves when we're fighting and defensive and we got guards up and we really don't want to hear what anybody else has to say? Which one best captures our true self? Hmm. So, of course, we came to a collective conclusion and said that we felt like being vulnerable and being open and sincere was closest to our divine self than anything else. So then the question becomes, why aren't we then moving toward our divine self? I mean, thank you for listening.